La befana viene de notte, con le scarpe tutte rotte, col vestito da romana. Viva, viva la Befana. Jungian analyst and storyteller Clarissa Pinkola Estes wrote, "Stories set the inner life into motion. And this is particularly true where the inner life is feeling frightened, wedged, or cornered. Stories cut for us fine, wide, open doors in previously blank walls, openings that lead to the dreamland, that lead to love and learning, that lead us back to our own real lives." It's a monomythic love story with a whimsical plot twist in which I end up running around the streets of Harlem with a one-toothed puppet of Italy's legendary Christmas witch. I know, strange, but true. You see, ever since I was a little girl, I have been a hopeful romantic. Though I presented at the time as a tomboy, on the inside, I was a princess who believed in fairy tales. I grew up in a storybook Victorian home along the banks of what the Lenape people referred to as Mahakanta. Surrounded by paintings of chubby cherubs, the smells of marinara sauce, the sounds of jazz, and a nonna who never got out of bed without reciting her rosary. On the stage that is life itself, several scenes of my childhood took place on the balcony of our home, where my parents had on display a marble statue of Cupid with his foot caught in the trap of love. It was there where I would spend countless hours of imaginative play, donning a hooded sweatshirt from my head, pretending to be Rapunzel, just like I had seen in Shelley Duvall's fairy tale theater. Whereas Rapunzel was trapped in a tower by an evil witch, in my story, I am liberated into life by a one-toothed puppet of Italy's legendary Christmas witch, an iconic figure from ancient Italian folklore, known for delivering children gifts, and sometimes coal, every Epiphany Eve on a perpetual search for the Holy Child. Now, had you told me back then that my story would somehow end up interwoven with that of Italy's legendary La Befana's, I would have never believed you. Though I'm Italian-American, I did not grow up with this tradition of leaving my stocking out in anticipation of her yearly visit. So finding myself on lockdown with a one-tooth puppet of this ancient old crone in the midst of a global pandemic was an unexpected gift along the journey that some might call fate. During this global trauma, this puppet would sit across from me on the couch, calm and content, as I freaked out trying to figure out how to teach my elementary school students by Zoom while simultaneously fielding panic phone calls from my parents in the nursing home. "Mom, you're going to be okay. Yeah, Dad's going to be okay. Yes, Chris Cuomo is going to be okay. Just try taking tiny breaths, like you're breathing through a straw. Inhale, hold, exhale, just breathe." Then I'd hang up, turn to La Befana, and burst into tears. "La, is it really going to be okay?" "Oh, Dina, I've lived through plenty of plagues. Just keep the faith. Tend to the little things. Sweep your floor. Do it in a holy way." Her voice sounded surprisingly assuring. I didn't want this to be my love in the times of Corona story. If it had been up to me, I would have much preferred being clutched in the arms of a man in the time of life in which the 7 p.m. clatter of pots and pans was a constant reminder that we were in the fight against death. But the only thing I could hold on to was this puppet and a legend that was larger than my own. Walking down Lenox Avenue these days was like walking in the land of liminality. Liminality comes from the Latin root word limen, meaning threshold. It is a state of transition between one stage and the next, especially during a stage of one life transition to the next, or during a rite of passage. The global pandemic seemed to serve as this inciting incident that thrust us all upon a collective hero's journey. The only problem was that I didn't have any magical powers to save the world from darkness. All I had was a one-tooth puppet and a desire to spread some joy in a time of despair. And one day, as fate would have it, I passed a bus that was parked on the corner of Lenox and 135th that was handing out soup and resources to the area's houseless population. Though I did not have La Befana with me, I could clearly hear her voice in my head. Dina, stop. There. Go there. So I obliged. I awkwardly approached the community outreach director and I told her that I had a puppet that would like to volunteer. Not being a professionally trained puppeteer, I was hesitant at first, but I could not ignore this urge in me to bring this legend to life. So I bought La Befana a face mask, and she soon became a regular. When she'd arrive at the city relief bus, she'd boisterously exclaim, "Ciao tutti! How are you? How's your heart today? Would you like some dolcini?" The guests at City Relief would greet her with high fives and graciously accept her offerings of cookies. A little boy named Julian would hide behind his father's leg, unsure of what to make of this puppet. His father would then get down on bended knee to show him that in spite of the fact that her preferred mode of transportation was a broom, she was, in fact, just a kind old puppet. The Chinese women would bow and say, "Hello, Grandma." Ken, the security guard, would smile cheek to cheek anytime he saw his girl coming. The days that the bus blared soul music were La Befana's favorites. That's when her friend in the walker would slowly rise to his feet, and together they'd bust a move and show everybody that though the bones may get brittle as we age, soul never dies. Through COVID cases, overwhelming hospitals, a nasty presidential election, an attempted coup in Washington, which coincidentally fell on La Befana's holiday of all days, and street protests, which illuminated our country's deepest unintegrated shadow. I continued to do the only thing that made any sense, which was to keep this legend alive. And then one February day in 2022, it happened. I looked at La Befana from me across the couch, and she told me it was time to let her go. But I'll miss you, La. The world feels too scary to do on my own. There's so much grief and pain and hate and division and violence, and all I want to do is live in this magical land of imagination of mine and play. Oh, Dina, I know you want to play, but now is the time for you to grow up, huh? For you to be all of who you are. It's time old La Befana goes back to the old country, and for you to return to your own real life. You're ready. I don't feel ready. Letting go hurts. I've already done it so many times, and the truth is I'm just tired. Oh, Dina, I know you're tired. Patriarchy is exhausting. Just take it from me. When you get tired, learn to rest. Chi va piano, va lontano. You gave old La Befana quite the adventure, but the time has come for you to no longer hide yourself in my felt. She was right. I was hiding. But in this hidden place, I was healed. You see, in giving my sacred yes to the adventure of bringing this legend to life, I was shown in such a simple way how much more beautiful this world can be when we live our lives in perpetual search of the Holy Child in every person we meet. In the midst of what felt like the apocalypse, this puppet showed me that renewal begins right from where we are. And though there may be world events out of our control that lead us to believe that we are powerless and small, each and every single one of us has a vital role to play in a legend much larger than our own. You see, I've discovered that this monomythic journey that I've been on is not unique, that there is a pattern within it that is applicable to all. We are born, we grow, we love, we lose, we suffer. No human being gets out of this thing called life without a wound. But in this woundedness, there is wisdom. And if we suffer well, we awaken. We remember the light of our true nature. And in remembering the light of our true nature, that leaves no part of us out. We begin to fully enjoy the skin that we are in. We welcome our whole and undivided selves to the table and invite other courageous souls to live a legendary story as well.